It was that quick, eh? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Get the Mic. We're excited to be back on this Tuesday evening. It seems Tuesday is even more consistent than Sunday these days.
Seems to be.
So, welcome back, everyone. This is the show, Get the Mic. I am your host on the left, Al,
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
and we're excited to talk about our analysis of Dragon Ball today, which is the episode Cruel General Red. It is the first of the non filler episodes in this kind of series before we get into the arc proper.
Yeah, this is some setup, but it does resolve sort of the stakes of what this arc is going to be moving forward.
Yes. And so let's go ahead and without further ado, get into it. So the first thing we see is kind of a recap of what happened before. We see that they're kind of chasing this Dragon Ball in the forest from that filler episode, if you remember. And Colonel Silver shoots down the branch. The monkey drops the ball, so they're all looking for the ball. That's kind of how they connect that filler story with where we get to in the episode. But it's kind of inexplicable because I guess they get off the cliff, right? I guess Goku just pulls them up and the Red
Mm-hmm.
Ribbon Army just goes away.
Yeah, we just move right along to this scene.
Right, and then we get this scene, which is like an establishing, like, this is the beginning of an arc shot,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's kind of what we get at the very beginning of Dragon Ball. So, yep, that just, it kind of happens.
Yeah,
But,
it's definitely just like, all right, and now we're gonna get on with it.
and then they do get on with it. And this is kind of to say, because they actually, and we'll see this over and over, but as we see more people learn about the Dragon Balls, we'll see more of that. The real story get fleshed out from what we just saw in the filler, which is it's I want to actually use a reference here that Brock knows and loves. I would say that story is a Mummer's Dragon.
Yeah, I would say that's a good way of putting it, where it's shaped like a dragon, but it's not the dragon.
And that's actually because it's made of rubies and sapphires and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
so all of the Red Ribbon Army is out looking for this ball, and Goku is also out looking for the ball. And we see as Goku's getting ready to leave to go look for it from these monkeys, he is, what do I want to say, accosted by the rain above.
Yeah, and this happens whenever the baby monkey is holding onto his tail when he's trying to walk away from the forest. It grabs onto his tail, and then we get a look on his face that's very much like he looks sad to go, almost like remorseful that he has to leave whenever the monkey tugs on his tail, which is, you know, pretty well represented. Um, it reads really well, literally too, where it's like Goku's been integrated now into the forest, and there's that definite call to him for that simplicity.
Well, I also feel like it's a way of the cosmos indicating that now's not the time to look. Let's say the Dragon Ball's moving on at this point, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
because we see a bunch of scenes where it's like flowing down, like right here, it's like flowing down the river and things like
Well, it's
that. Like,
flooding, yeah.
um, it's chaos, and so what does the universe have is chaos outside, right? So the chaos is too dense for people to navigate. Everyone goes inside. The Red Ribbon Army goes inside and they take a rest, right? It actually, in a way, reminds me of when Roshi and the boys sleep in the hammocks. Only it's yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm. I like that they offer him up a whole bunch of food, right? Because they know, being monkeys, like they can just automatically know, like this is the way to Goku. Just offer him up a whole bunch of fruit.
Yeah, and Goku reluctantly eats a banana. It's pretty great. You never see Goku. I don't think you ever see Goku not want to eat. This is like the only time you ever see it.
Yeah, there's a hesitance um in a lot of Goku's actions here, and he's more emotive in that way than we normally see him. I really like this setup here because we're kind of seeing a really dynamic Goku. Like you can see from these frames, his face is getting pulled on. He's like really, really expressive.
Well, and I want to say even more than that. This is a more matured Goku because think about Goku from episode 1 probably would have stayed and chilled with these monkeys.
Hmm.
The Dragon Ball can wait, right? Whatever.
Yeah, well, Goku was really tied into his animalistic nature at the beginning of Dragon Ball, right? This was his domain, right? This is sort of the call for him to return to that domain.
And there it goes. There goes the Dragon Ball. So, just to recap, this rain, I want to say, is that chaos entering in to the story here, where no one can search for the ball.
Hmm. Well, it's like that sort of imperative that the circumstances of where the wisdom is that the ball represents have changed, and now people need to be forced to look inward to essentially sleep on it, right? To readjust their
Right,
perspective so that they can go again and try again.
and Goku sleeps, but I don't think that Colonel Silver does. Hello, Chris Sombra. I think it's me.
I think it's him.
What is?
Oh, he just messaged me, and then he
And
was just
then
letting me know his
message
internet was messing
retracted.
up.
I think it's me. Okay. So they go inside, and I think at this point we do get a conversation here, right? So this is when he goes back to talk to Red, right? After the rains happen and they're still searching for the ball. So he goes to talk to Red. He has the ball from Pilaf, so Red is pleased with him. And he tells him his plan to get the rest of the balls, all this. But the main points of this scene, it really characterizes General Red. I think that's probably why the English dub's name is Cruel General Red, because of that very reason.
And you can see this. His familiar lashes out and scratches him whenever he tells him to go forth, right?
Yes.
And that's really representative of what his intentions are, right? His familiar, his animalistic familiar is aggressive and wants to needlessly harm him, right? Well, I say needlessly. It's not hunting him, right? He's just
Maliciously.
it's malicious.
Yeah. Or even sadistic
Yeah, it's
at that
cruel.
point. So it's cruel. And that's how Red, I think it's introduced as well. That's how Red really introduces, in the dub at least, that's how Red introduces or is introduced to people when they enter his chambers there, right? The
Mhm.
cat always leaps out at them and tries to scratch them.
Or hisses at them, right?
Yeah, or hisses at them. Now there's something here that is worth mentioning that's different between the dub and the sub. Um I think we talked about it. Wait, is this
Oh no, that is a great line. Where he says, I think it's
this
when
is the
Silver.
wrong we're in the wrong thing.
Where are we right now?
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. That's why I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, this does not happen in this episode. Hold on.
I was about to say because he throws the knife, right?
Yeah, I'm like, we've talked about this before.
This is great.
We've talked about this before. Okay, here we go.
Some
Boom.
next level technical difficulties.
There we go. Boom. Did it on the fly pretty quick. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Chris Sombra. Thank you. I realized that. I was a little confused.
I was thinking that, but I was like,
confused.
okay, yeah, let's expand on it. Well, did we talk about that line? Because you
We
called the line
did.
out.
We did.
I couldn't remember
We
if we
did
did.
talk about that. That's why I got deja vu. So apologies for that. So what happens is the rains end and Goku goes to look with the blessing of the monkeys now. They're happy to see him go. He spent enough time reflecting on his animalistic nature. Meanwhile, Colonel Silver here in the rain doesn't sleep. He just watches over the land, right? And he's upset that he's going to have to search so much extra mileage to find the Dragon Ball.
and that he's had to wait.
Yes, and that he's had to wait. And he briefly does talk to Red though on the radio, I believe,
Hmm.
and says he hasn't found it yet. And so then we see these two poor guys, these two poor men, Cowboy and Wolf.
Cowboy and Wolf.
So Cowboy and Wolf, they are chilling, and I think we'll talk about them more in just a second.
They're just big chilling.
So before that, we do see Goku. He's flying around. He has the radar, a better radar, right, than what we've already established.
more
as the Red
precise
Ribbon, more
radar.
precise radar, which is exactly it, right? Being that precision, the way that leads you to precisely where you want.
Hmm.
It depends on how precisely you articulate your way.
And that's why we talked also about the precision of his Kamehameha in the other filler episode, right? Whenever he broke open the gum. It's that precision that he's developed.
Yes, Goku rests, but Silver does not. And so it's kind of reflective, too, about their spirit. Goku's spirit is at rest when he is with his animalistic side, let's say. And Silver is not at rest, having not achieved his materialistic goal, let's say. Yeah, and when
Yeah,
nothing can be
I
done.
like that, Chrysombra. That kind of reminds me also that sort of the saying, God grant me the strength to change what I need, but the wisdom to know when I can't. Something along those lines, right? And this is that wisdom that Silver is not showing, right? That he's not able to accept what he can't change about the situation.
And I would say, too, Goku's acting beyond his years at this. Definitely.
Hmm.
Youth is usually paired with impatience, but Goku waits pretty easily, and he does get rewarded for it. You know, the monkeys are happy when he leaves instead of sad, all that. And so he goes to find the ball while they're also looking for it, and he sees all of them. He kind of laughs at them. He's like, "They're not gonna find it over here."
He's like, they don't even know where they're looking.
Yeah, it's a little bit funny. And so then we get to Cowboy and Wolf, and Cowboy and Wolf are sleeping on the job.
They're just big chilling,
They're just big chilling,
straight blissing.
and it's very interesting that Toriyama can put such minute character work into it, right? Because it's like they're regular dudes that don't really want to work. They're just doing it for the job, right?
Yeah, establishing that these aren't like they're not like Nazi soldiers, right?
Yes, exactly. They're not like Nazi soldiers. Thank you for pointing it out.
And yet,
And so, um, Colonel Silver comes by and tells them they need to wake up and look for the Dragon Ball. So they're all freaking out, right? It's like when your manager, when your boss comes around, you start to get nervous. It's like that's kind of the spirit they're embodying. And so they're actually pretty near the Dragon Ball.
it's kind of funny. It just reminds me in World of Warcraft, the Lazy Peons quest at the very beginning. I think it's in the Trolls and Orcs, where one quest you have to do is go around and find all the lazy peons and whip them back, get them to wake up and go do the searching that they're supposed to do. And it's like he's just doing his normal missions, going and doing his rounds.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I didn't play that, so good to know. The lazy peons.
The lazy
quest.
peons, yeah.
Yeah, and so these lazy peons, which actually I think it is to say, like, they're just regular everyday people, right?
Mhm.
That can be so near to these events, and that they are both terrified by the adversary, right, and in awe of the hero at the same time.
Yeah, right there in the middle.
Yeah, and so we see here, this is where they're in awe of the hero, finding the Dragon Ball first of all.
That it was there all along and that they couldn't see it, but Goku can. Right?
Yes, it's that vision, of course. And so Goku obviously is able to find this piece of the puzzle, and they're not. And they ask for it, right? They hold
Mhm.
guns at him, and of course Goku doesn't care about that, right?
Well, I like that this is a microcosm of them not having earned it as well, right? They're sleeping on the job. They're not really searching for it earnestly. They're kind of having to be persuaded to do it. So they're not authentically like searching for it. They're not
Well,
earning it. And so in that little microcosmic scale, it's like that why didn't they find it? And it
r-
was right there.
right, it's part of the let's say pathology created when the hero's actions are deemed to be immoral.
Mm.
It's it's exactly right, because if they found it as a result of being lazy, that's not. I mean, what would that say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so different than finding it by accident. They are embodying a certain spirit that way, right? And they're shown another way, and they're unable to even perceive it.
And instead, they kind of resent it, right? They're resentful of not having gotten
And
it.
so they'd rather destroy it, and they call in Colonel
Yeah.
Silver. And so Colonel Silver arrives, and he's like, "I'm gonna beat you up." Goku's like, "I'm gonna beat you up, and we'll see
I'm
who
gonna beat
beats
you
you
up.
up." But not only does he arrive on the cloud, but he like starts looking around, right? And I actually wanted to mention that because I got that set of shots for a reason. So he's looking around, right? That vision,
Uh huh.
that almost sensory, like what do I want to say? That bird like gaze.
Man, this reminds me of something that I know you're not gonna expect me to bring up, and that's Diogenes, right? I imagine Diogenes sweeping into town. He's got his lantern, right, and he's looking and he's searching around, and then of course they ask him, "What are you looking for?" And he said, "I'm just looking for a single honest man," right? It's so similar to sort of that idea that we're looking at in this episode, where they're both sleeping on the job and they're kind of like acting dishonestly, right?
It's like I'm looking for wisdom down here, and
and
it
the
ain't you
vision
two,
and the
right?
vision, right? Especially like that's how Diogenes acted it out whenever he was trying to get the rise from out of
Mm-hmm.
people to know that they're not seeing, right?
Ah, yes, yes. Yeah, that's a good segue there. And yeah, he amazes him in this way. And like I said before, Goku's acting beyond his years because he pays the reverence to that traditional spirit, or the traditional spirits that we've seen thus far.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he's pitted up against Colonel Silver, who we've seen working out, busting up professional boxers left and right.
Look how wide this boy is.
He's pretty wide. Oh, but before that, it gets even worse. Because as Goku rides away with the Dragon Ball, Colonel Silver pulls out a rocket launcher and destroys the Nimbus.
Blows it up.
What do you suppose that means, Brok? How does one destroy the way?
To destroy the way. See, I've kind of been puzzling through this idea as I'm working out what happened here. Um, it's grounding Goku. It's not allowing him to by default continue to act in the same way and get where he's going. He's establishing himself as a true obstacle that Goku has to contend with on the same level. Destroying the Kinto-Un is almost like him putting himself on the same elevated level, like as a threat to Goku.
Okay. I was thinking, because this is the first instance that we've seen Goku, and I'm not counting because this is their first interaction in the manga and not in the anime, right? They've like
Mm,
looked at each other
yeah, but
in
they
the
didn't
filler.
interact
I mean,
really.
they did speak to each other, but this is the first time, right?
Mm.
And so it is to say this spirit of the adversary, right, is that which throws the hero off their path.
I guess you could say it's
So
establishing that.
think about Simba, right?
Yeah,
The spirit of the adversary throws Simba off to Timon and Pumbaa off the path, right?
I
It
see.
you can see it multiple times. The spirit of the adversary has the ability consistently to destroy the path the hero thinks he's on. And that's because the adversary represents that, let's say, tyrannical force that can manipulate the chaos around them in a way that would disrupt the hero's normal path through it.
Yeah, I feel like you could also kind of pull that into a Pinocchio analysis where you've got this. Um,
Well,
it
definitely. I mean,
it's
that's
destroying
Pinocchio goes
the
off the path, goes
capacity
off
to
the
see
path.
the path, right? It's sort of putting somebody into a context that shrouds their ability to see the way without having to contend
Well,
on those terms.
let's be specific. So
Yeah.
far, Goku has not encountered a true adversarial spirit. So when he is going about his mode of being, gathering the Dragon Balls, collecting wisdom, right?
Hmm.
The next piece requires him to enter domain that he doesn't know, such that his path is still unknown to him. Later on, as he knows more, right, he doesn't know even who they are. That's part of it. The fact that he doesn't know who the Red Ribbon Army is part of the reason why he can't have the Nimbus right now.
Yeah, I see, because it's symbolically, whenever he's cruising around on the Nimbus over the water, out to familiar places, over sort of the forest, we always see him zipping through the mountains and the forest, and that's sort of the domain that we've seen that he's
That's
already
like the
conquered,
natural
right?
domain, yeah.
He's sort of he's integrated himself with it. But he you're right, he's never been in this location before, and he's also never interacted with the Red Ribbon Army or an army as a concept, as well as a spirit that has this type of malice included in it.
Right, and it's going to take some time for Goku to adjust to the conceptualization of that happening, and for him to be able to navigate through it is even out of the question right now anyways. However, Goku is now on the ground. It doesn't mean that he's powerless. His spirit is just as strong as ever. He's just encountering more unknown than he's used to, I suppose.
Hmm.
He's encountering the adversary here. Well, a facsimile of the spirit of the adversary, which we'll get to. It's like one of the tendrils of the tentacles of General Red.
Hmm.
And so he and Colonel Silver fight. After they exchange a little bit here and there, they steal the Dragon Ball, and then they steal the Dragon Ball back. Colonel Silver asks for the radar. It's all about they're just fighting over the radar, and then they get to kind of fighting.
Well, there's no fighting.
Goku just slams him basically, and it's precisely because what we've said before, right? Colonel Silver's spirit is not at rest. First of all, second of all, he's surrounded with deceit and arrogance, right? The deceit that, let's say, he's fighting for a noble cause, or the arrogance that he's going to be able to succeed at all of these endeavors, and the fact that he thinks he's better than all the pro boxers and all that. That's how they really characterize him.
Yeah, the dichotomy that we're being introduced to here is that all of that work that he's done artificially, making himself stronger in the gym in a controlled sort of circumstance, doesn't measure up to Goku's tail. Doesn't measure up to Goku's ability to rely on the true wild, right? Truly being one with the nature of the struggle around you without artificially having to produce it for yourself, right? Because that's what has happened, let's say, for Silver here, is that the tyrannical nature of his mode of being has made it so that he's dominated all these aspects of his life, and so he's controlled his opposition for himself, right?
But
Whereas
he's
Goku has
but
been
by
out in the
doing
wild.
so, he's also capped his limit.
Exactly. And it's showing that compared to that, Goku's integration with chaos, it's the real natural chaotic world around him. It's bottomless in comparison, you could say. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we see this sort of angry look on Goku's face, and it's like he has to remember for a second, like, I'm an animal.
Well, also it's that frown of judgment, right? That,
Hmm.
like, I'm in this hierarchy. I'm looking down on you. And that's why Goku jumps up when he does it, right?
Hmm.
Looking down on him in the hierarchy to slap him in the face with the
Yeah,
tail. And another thing that I think you'll like is pointing out that in the dub, Colonel Silver says he kicks like a donkey.
that's
It's that
great.
animalistic spirit, right? That's
Kicks
coming
like a
through.
mule. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it says in there?
I can't remember if it's
Oh,
donkey or mule,
I
but
think it's
yeah.
Donkey. And so he easily defeats Colonel Silver and then goes back to the Red Ribbon Camp, right? Yeah. The Red Ribbon Camp to see what he can see. No, this is not
Ooh,
it.
that's
To
definitely
see
wrong.
what he can see, I think.
Oh, that's strange. More technical difficulties. So Goku just
Yeah, he goes back.
he
Yeah,
goes to the
yeah, yeah.
camp and searches. I think in Silver's tent, or not really tent, his little setup uh, base camp, and finds his capsules. Because now that he doesn't have the Nimbus, he has to figure out how he's going to continue on his way.
How can he find his way exactly without the Nimbus? How's he gonna get there? And where is there? That's another important thing to mention.
Mm-hmm. He knows a direction, and he knows he needs to get there, but he doesn't know what's there. He doesn't know the context of what he's going to be facing. So he needs to get an elevated view, right? And so he starts searching through. You could kind of put it. I'm trying to think of a good term for it. These are aspects of Colonel Silver's mode of being that help him get where he needs to go. And so it's almost like Goku's rooting through, like, oh, what are his methods of doing things? How does he see the world, right? And so
Oh, really?
he's
Interesting.
picking through his capsules. You can kind of see that. I want to look at it through that lens, kind of the opposite of how we saw with Bulma, where it was something that it's like a potential that she had with her that she could throw out, and it was something inherited. This is a different kind of capsule, though. This is something that I would say is probably an army issue thing for Silver to be able to do the bidding of the Red Ribbon Army, right? So the vehicles in that I would extrapolate to represent something that was created to do the will, or a methodology that's created to do the will of, say, the Red Ribbon Army, or an army, or a power focused
Interesting.
will.
Interesting. Because I was thinking of maybe not the same lens of analysis, but definitely using the same analysis that we've had before, being Bulma's boon of the ancestral father, being society giving her the ability to travel and seek comfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that. This is a perversion and a militarization of that same spirit. Um, And that's the thing. I don't know if I think it's more about Red's spirit than it is about Silver's, to be honest.
Yeah, so that's what I was kind of alluding to with a specific will, like Red's, right? Because you can see the plane as sort of an extension of Red's effect on the world, right? And so if Goku gets in this to try to get where he's going, it's not going to serve him. Um, it's not a good fit for him, right? It's not his mode of being. So traveling this way, going this way that he gets from Silver, um, can't work out perfectly for him, and I think that's why we see that it goes down and the robot freezes.
Right. Well, we'll get to that part in a minute, but I do want to specifically talk about the robot. Right, an
Hmm.
automaton is part of what I was talking about with the perversion of the boons of technology. Right, an
Hmm.
automaton here whose purpose is simply to serve the Red Ribbon Army, right? And
Right.
he has, I guess he has a purpose in the story, and I'm not saying that, but his it's
Well, it's funny because he does ultimately serve it.
he serves his purpose, but not to the Red Ribbon Army, right?
Hmm.
Um, but right, having an automaton, just another automaton, because it's a lot like a soldier, right? Um, it's just another drone. I think it's significant to mention that it's another drone. And though he has knowledge of the Red Ribbon Army, right, ultimately he succumbs to, as you were saying a minute ago, at how he freezes.
Right. Well, he freezes also because he can't feel. Right. He says, "I'm not cold, so I'm fine," and then he freezes. So we see that lack of feeling in this drone that is flying Goku where he wants to go, where he knows he's supposed to go. Um, that lack of feeling is what causes him to not be able to continue getting Goku where he wants to go. And that's to say that acting in this way, in sort of a microcosm, won't get Goku. It's not sufficient to get Goku all the way to where he needs to go on his path. This is something that he can. It's almost like watching a soldier act maliciously and seeing sort of some of the ways that he acts in the world and saying, "Oh, well, I can use that to get somewhere in, you know, in interacting with other people like him or whatever." But that is so it's reactionary, right? It's it's a very limited and specific thing. And so I think it's kind of similar to that where just isn't something that Goku can even use really.
Right. And so he does crash after that. After the after the robot freezes. Oh my gosh. Silver is also here. Oh, he calls out
Mhm.
to them to tell them he's taking the plane and all that. Right. Um and then he crashes, perfect, and he's frozen in there. Now, specifically too, I wanted to talk about how now that they're in this frozen land, right? They all have to be garbed in winter clothing. Um Something that the drone, let's say, the robot is not able to do either. Now, I also want to mention that it's that, let's say, the purity of that white snow, right? That we're starting to see this place that is pure and will contain pure characters, kind of a foreshadowing of that, and that Goku's even saved to begin with. Um, I think we'll talk a lot about that next episode.
Interesting, yeah, because I'm not sure where my analysis is going to go with the next one. Like thinking of the I've been kind of thinking of this snow from a few
Well,
different
remember also,
perspectives.
it's like a mountain surrounded like valley, right?
Mhm. Well, it's also interesting just to consider it as there's symbolically, and we'll talk about it in the next episode, symbolically needing to be clothed against your surroundings, which will stop you dead in your tracks. That's what the
But
cold
it's
is
not
doing.
just your surroundings, right? Specifically, it is the the absence of the warmth of life, right? This is a place that he's brought to by a robot, right?
Hmm.
And it's kind of devoid, right? It's kind of devoid of life.
That's what I was gonna say is that there's no nurturing.
Well, there's nurture.
Well, immediately around Goku being here, you could say that this this plane has taken him into the ranks of the Red Ribbon Army, into the domain of where the Red Ribbon Army is right now, right? It's cold, mechanical, bureaucratic, malicious, and cruel.
Ultra hierarchical, tyrannically
Hmm.
hierarchical.
And so this is something that can freeze Goku because he is not able to maintain his uh well, he can't. I'm trying to think symbolically about being frozen. He can't maintain his mobility. Like you think about being frozen, also similarly to like the Medusa or the basilisk, coming into contact with it, seeing it, like witnessing it, freezes you. Physically coming into contact with the snow freezes Goku. Right.
Yeah, the realization of he's never seen snow as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the realization of this extreme environment existing, this hostile environment even existing, let's say the antagonistic spirit of Mother Nature existing,
And the mountainous nature of it as well, since it's also housing his interactions with the
and
Red
that
Ribbon
he's
Army.
trapped there because his plane got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
All that combined, right, contributes to why he's frozen solid and has to be saved. But I think we have one more set of slides here for the next episode. Is there anything else you want to say about this one? Oh, okay. So
Well, we do need to
Silver
wrap
goes
up.
back. Right,
Yeah.
right. So Silver goes back to Red after failing to get Goku, all that. And um hey, come look at this. And Red isn't happy with him. and I guess he has a bunch of guards like approach him. They're like, "Are they gonna kill him?"
I don't know if it says specifically what he's doing. They're just he's basically like, there's a punishment for failure.
He's like,
They
"Don't
kind of
touch
try
me."
to detain him, and he's like, don't touch me, ew.
And then
He storms
he's
off,
like,
and they
"Don't
chase
touch
after
me."
him.
They don't. Right? He gets away.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Silver gets. Oh, there they go. They hold their. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they were gonna kill him.
could be. I love
It's
that the
like,
guns look like it's a first-person view,
oh yeah,
and it's
two
like
two
Red's just
arms.
double, like dual wielding the guns and pointing them both
It's
at
actually
him.
really poignant because those are Red's arms.
They are his arms, wielded by his arms.
Yeah. And it shows Red's inflexibility, which actually is part of that adversarial tyrannical spirit. It's part of the reason why, let's say, Scar and the Lion King couldn't find a way to get the food to come back. He was inflexible to his
Mhm.
means, right? And so Red being inflexible here, we'll see how that turns out for him. But Goku is dragged off by a mysterious person.
Mysterious red-haired girl.
Do we see that? Oh yeah, mysterious red-haired girl.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Ribbon Army, who's there to search for the plane, they barely find the track.
They just barely see it.
They barely see the 2-foot wide track
that just scrapes all along the hillside up
into
towards
the forest.
the mountain.
Yep. There she goes. Okay, there she is. Yeah. Saved by a woman. Wow, what a slave. So, anyways, on the next episode, we'll definitely be talking about her. If you liked what you heard and you can excuse us for some of the technical difficulties, please give us a subscribe and like. I think we're nearing the end. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think we covered this episode pretty well.
Yeah, we had a couple hiccups, but we did all right. So, like I said, give us a subscribe, give us a like, comment if you think we're totally wrong.
Or if you think we're totally right.
And, catch us next time. We're going to be premiering an episode on Sunday. And then Tuesday, we should be live again.
Yeah.
I'm your host on the left, Owl.
I'm your host on the right, Brok.
And this has been Get the Mic, episode 34, Cruel General Red. Good night, everybody.